Okay, man.
See, once again, every time the camera goes on, I'm picking something.
Why are you picking your ears or your nose?
I just like picking my ears and nose. Anyway, we're talking body positivity, right? And before we get into the positivity part, I need to put the world to rights.
Something like you, mate.
Well, we've been in the industry for 10, 12 years now, and we've seen it all. And it just seems to be a trend in health and fitness. People who want to gain some traction, got a bit of a big mouth, bit of a narrow-minded attitude. Sorry, I'm upsetting a few people, I don't really care. Will use anything, however much of a tenuous link it has to health and fitness and aesthetics, they'll take it and run with it. Look at it like recently, over the last couple of years, veganism. When people started talking about veganism, pescatarianism, vegetarianism, it starts off as a slightly more environmentally friendly way of eating.
It's a lifestyle, isn't it?
It's a lifestyle choice. A few great fitness professionals out there went, you know what, I can tie that to fat loss. Here we go. Now veganism is tied to aesthetics and everything like that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a protocol of losing weight while being a vegan.
No,
like there
definitely isn't.
But to sell veganism as a weight loss program, that's the reason you do it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that is the reason you do it. I think the reason you do it is because of your ethics.
Yeah, and it's the same with the background of body positivity. You know, obviously we can use body positivity and loving ourselves and our body and that kind of stuff when it comes to training and the mental protocols and everything like that to support your training. But again, body positivity had nothing to do with health and fitness as a origin. But it just seems to be nowadays, you know, things like the Cosmopolitan cover that we're going to talk about, that a lot of people kind of just jumped on it, fitness professionals. We get asked our opinion on it and we're like, it wasn't a fitness magazine for a start. It had nothing to do with health and fitness. It's just a few people with a big attitude and a big mouth who decided to bring it to the forefront of health and fitness and talk about it out of context.
I think if you're going to talk about that, then you have to talk about it. You can't really use that as an example. It's like picking up and talking about basketball with the rules of football. They're not linked.
No.
I think if the kind of pictures, basically Cosmo put up a magazine and it had a beast lady on the front. I believe her name was Tess, and it was about confidence and kind of being confident in the way you feel and all that kind of stuff.
And in that context, fucking right on.
Yeah, totally right. And then I think a lot of the fitness industry, it wasn't a fitness magazine, plucked on it and gave their 2 cents. And if it was a fitness magazine, then I personally would be saying, cool that they put someone on there, but I would be saying, is this promoting that way of living? Yeah. And in which case I would be like, it's my job to keep people healthy. If it was someone taking drugs on the front of a magazine or alcohol, it would probably be frowned upon. And although food isn't in the same category of them, it's really a case of pick your poison.
Yeah.
Like, you still shortened your life, and regardless of people's feelings, my personal thing is to help people live longer. And I understand there is so many different facets to the reason people end up being fatter, to be honest. And I think you have to be really careful how you approach them. And to just go in and say this is bullshit, to put someone on the front cover and do that is probably a bit naive without having context of people's upbringing and all the facets that make that.
Well, what I said is, like, my opinion was, if we're going to make this a pure health and fitness conversation, and you put Tess on women's health and then you put some jack dude on men's health, right? These are just two generic magazines. I'm not saying these magazines use steroid use or anything like that, but I said to John, as he was saying, is it optimally healthy to, you know, regardless of how much you love your body, if you're
to be
morbidly obese,
yeah,
is that healthy, or is that any more or less healthy than putting somebody on the front of a magazine who's an assisted athlete taking steroids?
And he's like 1% body exaggeration.
You know, this is the thing.
It's just two extremes, isn't it?
It's just two completely extreme cases, and it's more socially acceptable to have an opinion on the guy or the girl who's assisted taking steroids because they're that 1% of the population and they're doing this, they're doing that, and they look phenomenal, so it's good for us and it's all right for us as a society to bring them down. But when it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we're almost not allowed to have an opinion. And I'm like, both of those are equally unhealthy if we put them into the health and fitness realm.
Yeah.
And you know, we need to find that middle ground if we're talking about health.
Everything
and fitness,
is in extremes and drama, because drama sells. And I think the way we're talking about body positivity is almost less about how you feel about yourself and more about how you judge others. And I think because of how fickle the apps and stuff we use, it is the definition of judging a book by its cover. And it becomes a catch-22 situation. Like, you feel less confident about yourself because you don't look like that person doing that pose, but then you mimic that pose and then the next person mimics that pose, so everyone's doing the same thing and that becomes the accepted thing. But now the thing that makes you feel uncomfortable has become the thing that you accept. You see what I mean? And that creates like just an unhealthy loop. And I don't want to be part of that, and I know Leon doesn't, and I think all of us on social media, those that have a following and those that have just started, really should think about and maybe really consider the stuff they put up there, and try and be more real, because we need more real. Like,
yeah,
my partner Rose put up a post the other day, and Rose was in great shape before she got pregnant. She's still in great shape now, just very different circumstances. But she didn't want to get her legs out. She thought her legs were fat, she thought her ankles, and she looked amazing. And she put up a post because I made her put it up. Well, I told her to put it up because it would really help her.
You pinned her down. I
did, put it up because it will help a lot of people and it help a lot of women. And it's now how much she loves her body while she's pregnant, and how much she's looking back was like, how many days of sunlight did my legs miss? How much did I not enjoy wearing a skirt, all because I cared about the way I looked when no one else really even gave a shit.
Yeah, I think, you know, if I was to give anyone advice when it comes to body positivity, I think it's that beautiful combination and mixture of, yes, wanting to have things that you want to work on. There's nothing wrong with having aesthetic goals. There's nothing wrong with having goals that are driven by performance and training, whatever it may be. Vanity-driven goals, let's put it into that bracket. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's also, as well, on the other end of it, it's being able to accept the things that you would classify as flaws. You know, I look at our bodies all the time and I'm like, they are just a vessel. The wrinkles, the scars, the tattoos, the bruises, the marks that we've picked up are all just little lifelines, all this little experience that we've picked up. And I think we spend so much time trying to constantly change our body and constantly move forward that we never really accept the beauty of what we've actually got. And I think if all of us could just accept that we're all a little bit selfish, we're all a little bit fragile, we're all a little bit vain and all the rest of it, and just be comfortable with that, I think we'd all be a hell of a lot happier moving forward. If you have things that you want to change, that's amazing, but do not spend every single day, every single week or hour of your training waiting for that goal. You know, if your goal, for instance, you say is you want to be 10% body fat and you want a six-pack, that's great. But if you're not going to be happy from now until this certain point in the future, you've wasted so much.
This goal will change, and it'll be the next thing.
You've wasted so much time living right now.
And I think a massive thing with maybe not body positivity, but certainly confidence, is you are a product of the things around you and the people around you. This is something I learned relatively early on in life, which is, well, before I was probably in my 20s, and it's the best thing I ever learned. I learned to say no to people more, and I learned to distance myself away from people that give me nothing but take a lot from me.
Vampires.
I call them energy vampires, and I'm not expecting people to dote on me and stuff like that, but if I'm going to see someone and they're having a rough time, I give them loads of energy. When I'm having a downtime, I want the same thing to happen, or I want it to be a positive kind of loop between the two of us. If you go and see someone all the time and you leave them and you feel drained, then just you haven't got to be rude, but just spend less time with that person.
Or make sure you prepare yourself for that time, you know, because there's nothing wrong with, you know, some people are just not in the same position as what we are with, you know, presence and that kind of stuff. And like when I spend time with friends and family and people who do take a bit of my energy, I'll make sure that I'm fully rested and prepared for that. But then as soon as I leave them, I don't see anyone. I'll go away on my own and have a moment where I have to have a breather to make sure that I bring myself back up to
you
another level.
To put number one first.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not selfish. And I always use this analogy, but if you're on the plane and it's going to go down, they say always put on your mask before helping someone else, because if you don't look after number one, how can you help anyone else? And it's really important to your relationships, to your friendships, to everything. It's not selfish to spend a bunch of time on number one and make sure you are in running order before you even try and help other people.
I've just had a thought. We've sat here for 10 minutes, John. What was the first thing you said we were doing?
Coffee, but the shop's not open.
Thanks, mate.
So we now got invisible coffees. But these guys got to talk in a lovely environment. I mean, it is actually really pretty here.
It is. It's autumnal today, isn't it?
You with your big words. Right, so I hope that helped you guys. I hope you enjoyed that talk. Do leave some comments below so we can have a chat about this and see what you guys think.
Open conversation.
Yeah, and as always, be respectful to people. You might change someone, or someone might change your viewpoint here, so try not to go off too hard off the bat, because you might find yourself eating your words.
Yeah, when it comes to especially sensitive subjects like body positivity or veganism, you can't go off with a reactive conversation because it will bite you in the backside.
Yeah, ask why more than say this is the only way.
Yeah.
You're probably wrong if you say that.
Yeah, but you know intermittent fasting's the only way for fat loss.
Fact.